Hello, everyone, and welcome to Context. This program is brought to you by the Idaho Humanities Council with funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities. The views expressed here today do not necessarily represent those of the IHC or the NEH. My name is Joanna Bringhurst, and joining us today is Heather Platts and Bruce Michael Miller, and together they are the musical duo Crazy Love. Heather Platts is a dynamic performer who holds back nothing in her performances and sings with the heart and passion of women like Bonnie Raitt and Grace Potter. She received a BA in music composition from the University of Idaho in 1996. Heather has released 2 full-length albums of original songs produced and recorded in Nashville. She has been a featured performer at the Boise Music Festival, Thousand Springs Festival of Art, Sisters in Songwriting Concert Series, and the inaugural Chick Singer Night in Boise, and tours extensively with her duo Crazy Love. Heather also teaches voice, piano, and songwriting at her studio in Twin Falls. Bruce Michael Miller is an award-winning songwriter, producer, and world-class guitarist who has toured and performed with Paul McCartney, Kenny Loggins, Laura Branigan, and John Densmore from The Doors, as well as many others. He is a professional songwriter who spent 25 years in Nashville, where he'd had over 40 of his songs recorded by performing artists, including a #1 song internationally with country artist Ashley Puckett. He is a songwriting consultant and music educator who has mentored songwriters on over 14,000 songs, as well as having been a songwriting professor at Nashville State College. Bruce relocated to Idaho in 2017 and immediately fell in love with the unique landscapes and friendly and laid-back residents. Currently the president of the Idaho Songwriters Association, Bruce teaches songwriting workshops as well as working with private clients. Heather and Bruce travel around the West performing together as Crazy Love, and they are also part of IHC's Inquiring Idaho program. If you are interested in having them speak and perform for your organization at no cost, you can find out more on our website at idahohumanities.org. Heather and Bruce, thank you for joining me today to share your story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have to do one little thing because my computer's asking me to click that we have permission to record this.
Oh, good.
That was a big block right across your
Yeah.
face. So. You look much better now.
Always those things have to hit us at the beginning. So good, I'm glad.
Yes.
So first,
correction. I'm currently the vice president of the ISA. I was president, but we have a new president now. So
yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
But
Well, we're
also joined the board of the ISA. So
right. And are you the head of education? Or?
I am, yes, the head of the education section of the Idaho Songwriters Association, because that's definitely something that we're looking to do with the Idaho Songwriters Association is get more young people involved with songwriting. So that's going to be fun.
great.
Yeah.
That's an amazing goal. I'm so glad to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So can we start with a little music? You produced an album together about your experience with organ donation. Would you share with us one of the songs that you wrote for the album, The Big Give?
Yes, we will. So we're going to be sharing our title track to the album. This song is called The Big Give.
Troubles of my own, heavy burdens I long to lay down, but your need hits home, and it's got me taking a hard look around at the room inside my heart for love and of what I might be capable of. It's a big
Yay, that was
Yay,
so
thank you.
beautiful. Thank you so much for playing for us.
You're welcome.
Your story is really so much a love story. Would you tell us how you met and how you fell in love?
Well, let's see.
What
Well,
a true story, or do you want that?
it's kind of cool because, really we met and fell in love through music, which I think is a part of our connection. But we met initially, when I was, learning more about songwriting and just, I mean, as songwriters, we're always trying to be better at our craft. And I met Bruce, who is an amazing educator. And we just started working with my songs. And of course, he's a producer as well. And so, he wanted to produce my album and help me record it. And so I went to Nashville and we ended up recording two of my albums. And that was when Bruce was still in Nashville. But over the course of that process, we really connected and fell in love really through music. So,
Well, yeah, I fell in love with the music first because I recognized what a talented songwriter Heather was, because we worked together for about a year, and she kept every month we would go on, it was Skype, and we would Skype for an hour and it would turn into two usually, and Heather would play me a new song, or and usually we would be working on another song too. So after about a year, I thought, wow, she's a really talented songwriter. And I thought, well, I suggested that we pretend that Heather was going to make an album in Nashville, and that I was going to do the tracks, and then she would come sing. And so
just simply to try and lure me, I was I
Right.
had two kids and I was a mom, I was busy, and so it's kind of like when you get to this other stage of your life, you're kind of, oh, I don't know if I can do this. So Bruce is very good about pulling people out of their shells and saying, well, let's just pretend.
Yeah, let's pretend.
Let's just pretend.
And
Yes.
so let's get 10 songs that are album ready. And one of the things that when I was producing a lot of song demos in Nashville, people would submit these songs that were just not ready, but they wanted to record them, because when you have a great Nashville band, your song and a demo singer, the songs sound great, but they're just not songs that are ready for the market. They're not up to professional standards in a lot of ways. So I would always encourage people to really work on their songs before they spend $1,000 to have them produced professionally. So that's what we did basically over the course of the year, was we just honed her songs. Well, Heather did it. I just said, here's where I'm not feeling it. Here's where it's going, going south where it should go north. And so I worked on the tracks for probably 10 months, and I was just falling in love with the music. And then Heather came and we met in person, and that's kind of when our relationship started. So
yeah, but
it wasn't easy. We both had families, and
yeah,
there was a lot of confusion and craziness in that time. So,
but Bruce coming to Idaho was really, it's been a real magic thing for just Idaho, because through the ISA and through, as you just heard, his love of teaching the craft of songwriting, we in Idaho, we're so far away from that world of Nashville that it's almost like, well, we just brought Nashville to Idaho, and now we get to kind of utilize this this gift of Bruce and all of his knowledge and his experience, and that's been really fun. And then for me personally, having Bruce come to Idaho, when you've lived in Idaho for a long time, you start to take it for granted, so much of the nature and the wilderness and the people, the incredibly friendly people. And so for me, bringing Bruce here from Nashville and kind of rediscovering Idaho has been such a gift for me, because he just loves it here and was just enamored by the whole experience, and
The
so.
wide open spaces.
I know,
and,
all of it, so.
The lack of green, well, down here anyway,
Well,
but up
yes.
north is beautiful.
The geology, right?
Yeah,
of
the
stuff.
geology is amazing here, and
Yeah.
this is different. I was in Nashville for a long time,
Mhm.
and it was time to change my whole life. So really,
Mhm.
that's what happened.
Yes, and I mean, I think many people are discovering Idaho, in a new way, but the wonderful thing about, being so close to someone who's discovering Idaho is just, you share in that magic, and that rediscovery and that appreciation for what we have. And
Yeah, this year we're gonna base jump off of the Prime Bridge.
Oh my word, are you really?
No, we're not. I just made that up.
Okay, I was
like,
having a slight heart
486 feet.
attack over
oh,
here.
we might go watch some other people.
Yeah, we've done that.
Definitely watch other people
Yes.
do it.
So anyway,
So, Bruce, how long had you been out here in Idaho before you started experiencing symptoms and health issues?
Well, I had chronic kidney disease for really a long time, asymptomatic. So I knew I had it because of tests, different blood markers. And, I was taking really good care of myself, and I was asymptomatic. I had a couple doctors say, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get to the point where your kidney function is so bad that you're going to have to, get a kidney or go on dialysis. So, I was in denial about it a bit, but I was also being a little proactive too. I'm kind of a alternative medicine guy, so I was using a lot of Chinese herbs that I think were helping me to stay healthy. Actually, my doctor said that it was kind of a miracle that I was even standing
mhm,
with what my kidney function was. It was like down to under 10%.
mhm.
And so it was maybe what, a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a year before I found a doctor here, a nephrologist, which is a kidney doctor, and Heather came with me to my appointment, and she said, you're in end stage renal failure, and you need to like start looking at
Yeah, that's what his doctor said.
at
That was actually,
dialysis, and so
it was actually January of 2019. That was
yeah, right.
kind of-
And Heather, she's been amazingly supportive, and was coming to all the doctor's appointments, and I think realized that I needed I knew I needed a kidney. We knew that at
Yeah.
that point.
So I knew he was sick, but the doctor basically said you have three choices, right?
Right.
And
So dialysis,
Mhm.
kidney transplant, or just die.
Or just
basically.
write it out, and
Yeah.
so that was a really shocking moment for me because, while dialysis is a really important, option and necessary and keeps people alive, looking at the logistics of dialysis for someone like Bruce, who is a traveling musician, it basically meant he would have had to completely give up that livelihood, and that was really shocking.
And I'm hypochondriac.
Yeah, there's
Oh
that.
no.
But
No, I don't know if I would have been able to hack it. I really don't.
it would have been hard.
Yeah, it's like I
So,
get very anxious about things,
Yeah.
about like dialysis
it's-
is heavy. People don't realize how intense it is and how much it dominates your life once you are doing it. So
and the fact that, a lot of people don't, people that have kidney failure, it's most of the time not by any choice that they've made in their life. It's just something that they have. And even someone like Bruce, who is so health conscious and took such good care of his body, at a certain point, the kidney patient will get to that choice where they have to make that choice. So it's not, I think a lot of people misunderstand, well, maybe they don't take care of their bodies. No, most people get to that choice and make the decision of dialysis, not, literally
Well,
to
it's
keep
kind of
themselves
decided for
alive,
it's decided for you.
Yeah.
It's like you die or dialysis, and we'll get you on the kidney donor list, which Actually, out here is not,
as bad.
it's not as bad. It's like 3 to 5 years people are waiting for transplants,
But-
for organs to come available. But like in Nashville, it was 5 to 7. If you live in LA or any big population center, it can be up to 10 years.
Mhm.
And, dialysis
Wow.
is very hard on the body. So
Yeah.
I think someone said that for every week you're on dialysis, it shortens your life by a day. So it's like,
Yeah. So back to that day in January of 2019, we were kind of leaving that doctor's appointment. And for me, that was like that moment. I was like, oh my gosh, Bruce is technically dying. Just that awareness was a bit of a shock for me. And so, and of course, Bruce, his personality is just always, crack a joke. It's all fine. It's going to be fine. But so later that night, I couldn't sleep and I got up and I Googled the words kidney transplant because I had no idea what that meant. I knew there was a waiting list you could get on. But so I Googled kidney transplant and I found out some amazing facts. First of all, in the United States alone, there are over 100,000 people on the donor waiting list. And of that, every year, only about 22,000 receive a life-saving transplant. So to me, that was just shocking, the level of need. I had no clue about this world, that so many people live in. And like Bruce said, in Idaho, the average wait time is about 5 years. And this is a shocking fact that every day about 13 people die waiting for a transplant.
is that for kidney or is that for any solid
For
organ?
kidney, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, as Idaho does not have a transplant center.
Mhm.
So we had to go to University of Utah Medical Center to just, that's where they do the transplants.
Mhm.
And so that's where Idaho doesn't even have a waiting list. I mean, you have to go down there because we just don't have the population
Mhm.
and, and the doctors to support it here.
So then I Googled the words that would change our lives, how to become a living donor. And I landed on the website for the National Kidney Foundation. And across the top of the screen, it said the big ask, the big give, a conversation to save a life. And from there,
You have a good memory.
I know, well, it was a big movie. Obviously that's the title of our album and of our song, The Big Give. And from there, it just kind of organically happened. I started to look into it. We took lots of, tests. A lot of people don't, I guess they don't understand how, well, at least what I like to share with people as a donor is how much they take care of the donor. Like, it's not like you just walk in and say, I want to donate my kidney. And they're like, oh, cool, we'll take it. They put you through so many tests. You have to be incredibly healthy. You have to have a stable emotional life. All of these things that.
She lied about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's
like the
pretty
kidney
in depth.
it takes a lot and,
They also want to make sure the person's not being coerced, like,
so.
give me your kidney or, move out.
But
kind of thing, but
the nice thing about it is that you can research it, you can look into it, you can start asking questions without any pressure. And at any point along the way, you can step back. I never felt any pressure. I never felt any coercion. I never felt anything like that. I just felt celebrated and encouraged to do what was right for me. And so I always like to express that to anybody who's curious about donation or has ever wondered about it or has a family member or a friend, that it's really something, there's a lot of baby steps involved. And
there's only a few organs you can donate live, like have living donors. Obviously,
yeah.
you can't be a living heart donor.
No.
No, they don't
No.
allow that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So yeah, kidney, liver, you can donate part of your liver and still live.
Mhm.
But all the other solid organ transplants are from cadaver donors. So that's why the waiting list is long.
And so, the great thing about having a living donor, in other words, someone who chooses to participate, is that, you ensure that the process is healthy. You also get to choose the time, I mean, I teach and we do things, so it's like, it was almost like scheduling a gig, right? Well, let's shoot for August.
Yeah, we already have a gig that date.
Yeah, let's throw in a donation.
August 6th, 2019.
That's
is the
right.
date we picked. The most expensive date that I've ever had.
Right.
It was.
Yes, it was very.
It
How
was-
long did you have to prepare, and what was that process like for each of you as the donor and the recipient? What do you have to do to prepare for the surgery?
Do you want to talk about the donor or about the recipient first?
Well, yeah, I mean, recipients, obviously, hospitals have, they have statistics and data so they can have strong programs, and get, grants and donations from people. So, they want to make sure that you have to be healthy enough to be able to survive the surgery, obviously. Some of it is based on your age, but most of it's based on your physical health. Like if you're, morbidly obese, you have to lose a certain amount of weight. I didn't have to do that. They want to make sure you don't have cancer, that you don't have, any kind of illnesses that will be impacted by the surgery. And also, they want to make sure you're going to live a while, if you get a kidney, because they're kind of so precious. So this is weird. I was just looking this up because this is just how I think, but I was thinking, okay, so I wonder how much longer do I have statistically to live with the kidney I have?
Oh, so you just recently did this?
I just recently did this, yeah. So if you, for a cadaver donor, 10 to 15 years is the average that organs will last. For getting a living donor, 20 to 25 to 30 years, your transplant will last. So,
and that was another thing that I found out in my research, that the value of a living donor
yeah, the
is
surgeries are much simpler. People recover a lot better. The kidneys actually generally just start working right away, whereas in a cadaver donor, sometimes they call it a sleeper kidney. It could be a month or 2 months before the kidney wakes up, and so you don't even know if it was successful, for a couple months, which to me would be just so hard to just abide with during that time. But so yeah, I mean, I was so lucky that, and the percentages of finding a match is not, it's kind of miraculous that Heather and I turned out being a match, so that her kidney would not be rejected.
yeah.
So there's
and
certain certain markers.
yeah, so it is very involved, but
It wasn't that hard though. I mean,
yeah,
we had to go to the hospital a couple times for tests, and
but everybody involved in the process, the doctors, the nurses, the
surgeon.
everybody is, you're educated about every part of it, and so that was very gratifying for
Yeah,
us. I mean,
they do.
he had his own coordinator. I had a donor coordinator who, like, her job was to take care of me, and it was totally separate from Bruce, so again, that idea that this is your choice, this is your decision, your life, we are with you, whatever decision you make. I just always felt supported and really celebrated, so that part of it was surprising for me. I didn't expect that, and I appreciate that, about the process. So,
Yeah, I still have my coordinator and
Yeah.
I wear her out sometimes, especially when if I get sick, like I'm just getting over a cold now.
Mhm.
Because I take medication that suppresses my immune system. So if I get a cold, it's like, I don't know how bad it's gonna be. Like Heather had the same cold and got over it in a week. It took me 3. So, it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes, but I'm fine.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I mean, that's another part about becoming a recipient, is that you have to agree to take
Take your
these
meds, and that's,
medications for the rest
that's
of your
weird
life.
because that's the number one. You think about all this stuff you have to go through to get a transplant. And like the number one cause of rejection of an organ is people not taking their medication, which is kind of like, I've been gifted and blessed to have more life and not have to go through dialysis, and I'm not gonna take the medication. That just seems like
Yeah.
crazy, so that's why another reason why they want to be sure that people are going to be compliant with the protocols, and I push the boundaries because I think sometimes doctors are they're very focused on their field of endeavor, and so I think, well, guess what, I can do things to stay healthy that you guys don't even think about, that won't affect my kidney, the transplant. So I'm what they call a squeaky wheel in this whole process. I don't take, I don't take things as gospel. I always, try to find out if there's something that's better or something that doesn't, because some of the medication has, can have negative side effects. I'm lucky I haven't really had any
Yeah,
with the medication, so.
and the transplant's gone really well, so.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm very curious about what it is like to determine if you are a match for someone. Heather, what did you have to do to find out you were a match for Bruce?
Okay, so the process, it first begins with a lot of personal questions about, for the donor. So before they kind of get you into all the medical things and all the testing, they really want to get a sense for where you're at emotionally and why you want to do this, and which I think is great, because it does involve some testing. The I guess the most challenging part of it, as going through the process and going through the testing, is the potential to find out that things are wrong with you, right? It's like most of us don't take all of these tests, and maybe we do at certain ages, or maybe we have a problem and then we go test something. But normally, if you're healthy and everything's going great, you don't go and say, okay, I want you to test every fiber of my body and make sure I'm perfectly healthy. So they kind of let you know, hey, they're, just be aware, if we uncover something, we're going to let you know. And so that part of it was a little bit nerve-wracking.
Well, this is interesting because they won't consider you as a donor, right? Unless you have insurance.
Well, that too.
Because if they find something, so let's say they did tests on Heather and found out she had, God forbid, cancer. And then once they find, if they find out you have a medical condition, they have to treat it by legally.
Yeah.
And so that was something I didn't know. Now, once the transplant happens, the recipient's insurance covers everything. It covers all of Heather's expenses and her surgery and hospital stay and mine. But until that time, before the transplant, is like before we're a match and it's all approved, she's kind of on her own medically.
Yeah, so
so
that is something.
that was something I didn't
They
know.
do want you to have insurance for that. So, that kind of makes you nervous. It's in the back of your mind.
Right.
And all of a sudden so I did have to do, mostly in the beginning, it's blood tests. You just take a lot of these blood tests, and one of which is finding out if, our blood types are.
Mostly is they do it through blood work
Yeah.
to match you, to
Yes.
see, because that's where all of that secret stuff goes on, you know, between the white blood cells and the immune systems of the two people.
Yeah, so most of that stuff you can do wherever you are. I mean, even though
Yeah.
we don't have a kidney, hospital here, you can do all that at your local hospital. And so as we started going through this process, and I would get more and more feedback about, okay, well, this looks good, this looks good, this looks good, this looks good. You know, you have to do certain things, you have to get your mammogram. And I mean, mostly they're things that are good for everyone to do anyways, right? Just to make sure you're healthy. So then once you get through that process and they figure out that you're healthy and you are a match to possibly donate to this person, then you get to go spend one day at the hospital where they would do the surgery. And so in our case, we went to Salt Lake City and at the University of Utah Medical Center, and they just run you through a bunch of tests. They run you through some exercises. It was kind of a funny story.
Well, that was funny because at the last minute, we were actually on our way back to Twin Falls. And I guess you talked to the coordinator and she said, the doctors want you to do a stress test.
Yeah, one of my numbers was a
treadmill.
little bit high.
So we're going, now you could come back next week, but if we had come back the next week, it would have pushed the surgery date back.
Yeah, we
like a month, because they meet every month to decide who gets approved.
yeah.
And Heather didn't have sneakers, so
It
we
was
had
summer. It was like warm.
yeah, so
I
we
just
had
had my
to
little
find
sandals.
sneakers.
And part of the actually, yeah, you have to run on a treadmill and they hook all this,
Oh,
stuff.
like actual serious
Yes,
physical
it's so
stress here.
okay.
Last minute stress test on the way home.
And see, again, this is why they were so great. My coordinator, Teresa, was just like, okay, well, they
Let's
knew.
find a place.
Let's find a place. So she called all over and she found a place. It was outside of
It was
Salt
like
Lake
by
City.
Logan, or I don't know.
Yeah,
It
a
was
little bit outside. Okay, we found a place. You could do this today. We're like,
3:30.
today, okay, we have 30 minutes. We can run, grab some tennis shoes. So we stopped at
pretty fun.
this mall and found a pair of tennis shoes so that I didn't have to do my stress tests in my
But-
sandals.
But see, Heather wasn't allowed to drink coffee that whole day.
Oh gosh, that was the worst part. of
And
it.
so Heather was drinking coffee.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so that was like another, 2 hours before you could drink coffee?
Yes, that
So-
was. And so I had to run and do a stress test without any caffeine in my system that
You did
day.
good.
So, and I passed. So let's just say
You
I'm
clearly
a
passed.
healthy person.
I think you were just
I'm
pumped up on adrenaline, so.
I'm curious also about what it felt like to be going through this experience together. I don't think it's uncommon in couples for someone to have a medical emergency or a surgery, but it's very different for you to both be doing it together and to be so intimately connected in the experience. How did that affect you?
For me as the donor, obviously there's the initial feeling where, well, first of all, it's personal. I love this person. I don't want to lose this person, right? So that's kind of the catapult to finding out the information and saying, okay, and there's kind of a moment, it's like where you're blind to all of those other aspects. So people on the outside look and they're like, well, I had to tell my kids, right? I have kids and I had to tell them I'm going to be doing this. And of course, to them, they like Bruce fine, but they're,
Not that much.
it's not like, wow, mom's doing surgery and
Yeah,
she-
you're risking your life for this guy?
so all of a sudden, it really wasn't until I was confirmed to be able to donate and I got to make the choice. Okay, you're good to go. Should we book this date? Then I started sharing it with other people. And that's when it became real to me because these people, they weren't seeing out of my rose-colored glasses, which is just, I'm just got to keep, save this life, because I care about him and, selfishly, I don't want to lose him. But it was actually really amazing because in order to have those words to tell someone, when they say, well, why are you doing this? Why you have kids, what if something happened to you and how do you justify that? And so for me, it was really thinking it through and getting to that point. It's kind of what the song, The Big Give, is about, I mean, I got a life, I got troubles, I got concerns, but, in the face of someone potentially losing their life, what does that mean for me to potentially give it? And so as a parent, that was a real aha moment for me, because I wanted them to see that. I wanted them to see that someone could have that superpower of maybe putting themselves in that position to save a life, and it's like, okay, yeah, you can make that decision. I'm going to make sure that my kids, are safe and sound and have a roof over their heads, and, that's fine. But here I can show them the power of love and to transcend death. It's like, well, I think I want to do that. That's a pretty big deal. And so that's when it really started to become more of a transcendence for me as a donor, to like, wow, I'm starting to change, right? I mean, you donate your kidney to save someone's life, but everyone that I've talked to who is a donor has had the same kind of experience of, it almost saves their own life, because they kind of achieve a certain level of awareness about life and about love and about our ability to have that kind of power in the world, that it takes it up to 11, it's like your life is elevated a little bit.
So as a songwriting teacher, I'm thinking about when we were writing the song, and of course I heard Heather was in here. You can't see the grand piano, but I heard her playing this chorus, The Big Give, and I just thought, I need to get in on this song. And so I came in and said, what do you think about me writing the second verse from my point of view as the recipient? And the kind of the trick in the song, the thing that for me that makes it really work, is that when you say it's a big give and I'm going to take it, it's kind of the opposite. You think the opposite. It's a big give. And so what Heather was talking about, how it changed her, it's like she was going to take that opportunity to give something, and I was going to take the opportunity actually to take something, which, if you flip it around, was me. I know this sounds a little forced, but giving Heather the opportunity to actually do something like that for me. And it wasn't easy for me to, to have someone, risk their life. The surgery is very successful. It's not like a tricky, but there is the potential, of something going wrong. So for me to be able just to surrender, I had to surrender to everything, because I am, I have PTSD about hospitals and doctors, from bad experiences, when I was younger. And so I had to completely surrender to that. I'm going to go in here and trust doctors and anesthesia and medicine, which I never took medicine. So it was a really interesting, it's one of those kind of for me, also life-changing experiences. One, to have someone who cared about me enough to want to make that sacrifice and go through that. Number two, for me to surrender to this whole system of medicine that I had great fear about. Just the thought of it was crazy. And then one of the things that we do in the Big Give, we have a bunch of songs. One of the songs is called Ray of Hope. And Ray of Hope is about someone that we met along the way in this journey. And that's one of the coolest things about the whole experience was who showed up for us, and I had like what do you call it? A Facebook, what do they call that? Donation. Anyway, it was, we just posted that, I knew I was going to be out of work for 3 months, because that's kind of the recovery period. And so we had a giving campaign on Facebook, and I can't say how much we made for tax reasons, but I'm kidding. But it was phenomenal. I mean, people, the very first, I mean, people of all ilks, ages, professions, probably half of the people that donated to us, I didn't even know who they were, you know, and big, generous, you know, amounts of money came in, and we were like, I was so humbled by that.
Yeah.
The fact that people cared and,
Yeah.
you know, and wanted us to go through this together and wanted to help, so.
Yeah, and if I might add, so being on the outside, seeing Bruce go through this, part of the reason most people didn't realize how sick he was is because he's one of those people that just, he handles everything, you know, and everything's a joke and life's good, and you know, people weren't aware of the fact that he was sick. And so for me, seeing him go through that process of like, okay, I have this and I need help, right? That was kind of a transition for him as well. Because like what he says, he wanted to be in charge of everything, just to surrender to that. I think
It's a guy thing, you know. Well, I think, you know, it's
sometimes,
really a personality thing, you know, there's plenty of women out there that, you
but
know, keep things hidden or don't talk about it,
Yeah.
but
But-
probably more than men, actually.
But you know, like most things in life, you know, you have the specifics. Oh, well, a kidney donation. Wow, that's an amazing story. But, you know, like all things, it's not just about that. And our show and our songs, The Big Give, and when we share our stories, it's really about this other part of the story, about all the threads of people that come together, you know, the help and the love and the care that's out there that oftentimes we don't know about until we get into these positions of being so vulnerable and needing something. And as hard as those times can be, they are so important in the fabric of we as human beings, you know. And so being able to share this story and this experience, not only just through words, but through music, because that's what, lucky us, we happen to be, I think it's really about sharing that. You know, we don't want this to be just about someone donating a kidney. Yes, we want to show people about this, but we also want to just remind people of many, many ways that we give to each other as human beings and how important that is.
Yeah, and for people listening, you know, out there to this, you know, what I think, you know, we live in an era, we live in a, you know, in a country and a world where it's, you know, all the news that we hear has a real negative bias because, you know, that's what sells stuff. And the truth is, and what we found out is that, you know, people are very connected and we are not nearly as divided as, you know, as they would have us believe. Because, you know, I mean, we have fans of all political ilks, of all races, of all, like I said, ages, you know, gender choices. And so this story between us is really kind of the human story, and it brings out the tendency that we have as human beings to be kind. You know, we are kind, you know, as bad as people seem when you look at, you know, what's being fed to us, you know, we're not, you know, there is kindness everywhere, and people have exhibited that to us. And, you know, we just try to, you know, personally, just try to be that way as much as we can, you know, and develop, you know, this kind of compassion, I think, that has come in with this whole experience that we've had together is really probably the biggest give and the biggest gift, at least for me. I don't know,
Yeah.
you know.
No, absolutely.
Is that, wow, you know, this brings people together in a way that's really important, so.
And I'm so happy to hear, Bruce, you said your recovery is going well. Are both of you feeling well and doing well today?
Yeah.
Yep, we are. We basically have the, you know, so we get our creatinine, that's the level of your ability of your kidney to
I just say my kidney's rocking. Actually, the one has.
But it's funny because our numbers are like the same now because it's like basically the mirror kidneys, so
Yeah,
it's kind of cool, but
yeah,
I will say, Bruce, so the recipient, their recovery is much longer than the donor. The donor, it really only takes, I only had to be in the area, I was really only in the hospital for like a day and a half. And then they want you to stay within that area for, I think, about 8 days. or
yeah,
so.
just in
And then,
case.
yeah, and then I was able to come home. I would say I started to feel almost 100% normal by 12 weeks. So when you consider 12 weeks of your life and maybe 25 of Bruce, it's kind of like, that's a pretty good trade. So.
Yeah, so, yeah, I was, it was a really, it was life-changing. I think of it in it was an initiatory experience for me. It's something, I was taken out of my environment. I was, subjected to intense stuff, pain, changes in consciousness, so when I kind of came through it, it really, there was some fundamental changes that happened. I'm still basically Bruce, I still have, my little neuroses and things,
Bruce
but
2.0.
yeah, Bruce 2.0, that's what I am right now, so. It was just an amazing experience, and I know that not everyone who goes, through this with transplants is as lucky as I am, to have things work out so well. What do they say that they said Heather's kidney was peeing already before it was peeing as they brought it across the room. I always think of like like a long bomb, one surgeon's passing the kidney over to the other one. Catch it, put it in.
Yeah, that's funny.
So,
That's funny.
yeah.
But it is, so some specifics you might be curious about. So, obviously they do the donor first and they remove the kidney, but then that's what's nice about having the living donor there with you is that basically as soon as that's happening, then they've got the recipient right there, and basically they've got my kidney, wheel me out, then they're taking care of Bruce. So it's very, just kind of flows together. And basically we woke up, we were in different rooms, but woke up and that was the first thing that my father came with to be my helper after my surgery. And that was the first thing, he's like, your kidney's doing great, and I'm just coming out and I was like, because it doesn't always, there's no guarantee, even if you are a match and you're healthy, there is no guarantee that kidney is going to settle in and do its job.
But mostly it
does.
does. That's statistically, you're much better off. And
Yeah.
people don't know, but the kidney actually is here. They
Yeah,
put it in
it's
the front.
Yeah.
And for me, they left my other kidneys because they just weren't working. They weren't diseased as far as like, the kidneys weren't making me sick. They just weren't working. So they leave them in so they don't have to do this additional surgery,
Yeah. So Bruce
to
actually
remove
has
those.
3
I have 3.
He's very cute.
Nice.
3.
I'm a 1-beaner. He's a 3-beaner.
Yeah.
I'm really good at
You're good at math.
Well, I'm so
3.
yeah, I'm so glad to hear that you're both doing well, and thank you so much for sharing your story. Again, your album about organ donation is called The Big Give, and since then you've been working on new projects, including a whole bunch of songs about Idaho history, Idaho culture. Do you mind sharing a song with us from that
Oh
project?
gosh, funny you should ask.
We would love to.
So yeah, so this project came out of, we started with one song and then we continued writing. It was so much fun.
Yes.
And yeah.
And we're actually, so the album itself is going to be officially released in April. So that's coming up real quick. And April, as it turns out, is donor, let's see, kidney donor month, I believe.
Yeah, it is. I think we're
Yeah,
Kidney
so-
Donor Awareness
So it's really
Month or
cool
something.
because it's like, this is why, right? This is Bruce being able to do his music and continue to do this is why he wanted a kidney. And so it just feels like, oh, that's perfect. This is why.
So this is called 3 Days, and it's actually about just one of our experiences of Idaho and the nature in Idaho. We were staying by this creek in Hagerman called Billingsley Creek, and I said to Heather, because we went to just kind of get away and relax, and I was feeling real antsy because I'm not a good relaxer, so. I was gonna turn on the TV and I just went, whoa, what am I doing? And I just said, it usually takes me about 3 days in nature to really start to feel like I'm myself again. And we just started.
Picked up his guitar and here it is.
It'll take 3 days by the river to wet my soul again. 3 days by the river to feel at home in my own skin. It'll take 3 days under the blue sky till I'm as free as the wind. 3 days under the blue sky to fill my blood with good oxygen. In a gray cloud of uncertainty, I've been coiled up, an alarm clock spring wound too tight, spiraling. It's time to take time. It'll take 3 nights with my baby till I feel human again. 3 nights with my baby to make me a new man. Amen. In the gray cloud of uncertainty, I've been coiled up, an alarm clock spring wound too tight, spiraling. It's time to take time. I've been coiled up, an alarm clock spring wound too tight, spiraling. It's time to take time, time to take time.
That was amazing. I feel like I need to go on vacation immediately.
Yes,
Yeah, it is time.
yes,
Always a good time to take time, right?
It is
Yes.
time to take time.
yes.
Bruce and Heather, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's such a beautiful love story. Especially inspiring to me is how many people you were able to connect with who cared about you and your story. And I think you are right. More of us are like that than are not.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
We're
Thank
gonna
you,
be
Joanna.
okay.
Are, and you're a part of that too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now we're
you
a
know,
part of your story, and we love that.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
Yes.
me too. Me too.
Having us.
Thank you so much, you guys.
thank you.